and I always hold my breath when I press the button. Like, that should go live on YouTube, I think.
And Sharon, as I was telling Rusty, I'm hiding my view of myself, so I'm not distracted, basically. So if it starts getting like, if I start looking like a floating head, because there's no overhead, the lighting's bad in here, unfortunately.
It actually comes through pretty good, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's not really a lot of. I mean, obviously, like your neck area is a little bit brighter, but no, it looks fun. I was actually going to ask Rusty if he could tell a difference because I put a light up over here to my right, but I already had pretty good light in this kitchen bar area. So
yeah, you know how this room gets in here. It's dark, and the overhead light does not do enough. So I've got 3 lights on right now.
Nice. I have an overhead light. It's on, but we'll see when it gets darker because it's still light here. You know, West.
Oh, right.
The sun is still up here, but not very high, and it's a cloudy day because Pacific Northwest. So.
Portland. I love Portland. I've actually got family in Portland who I didn't discover. We didn't discover his family. It's a long story, but my dad didn't know who his real dad was until I don't know 2 years ago. And found out they all a lot of them live in Portland, so that was pretty neat to discover a whole new side of the family. Brothers and sisters and cousins and all that stuff. It's been neat. So, but I'd been up there before then and done. We did a bunch of hiking and stayed at the McMinimans and did Mount Rainier and all kinds of stuff throughout there. So, yeah, loved going to Portland.
I love it. I mean, I thought I'd be out here a couple of years, and 25 years later, still here.
Yeah. I think we're all set up here. Let's see. I guess we went on a little bit earlier than most people are familiar with, so we'll give them one more minute to jump on. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't have a whole ton there. Did you catch your races this weekend, Kate?
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. And usually we've been at the Roval the past 2 years, and we have tickets this year, so sad to watch it. I've never watched the Roval on TV, basically.
I feel like this was going to be our year to go to the Roval. Like everything seems to have lined up correctly in terms of schedule and everything else. And sure enough, this whole thing happens, and it's like, oh my gosh, another year without going to Roval. And we're I should say I am about 3.5 hours from Charlotte, and Sherwin now is, I don't know, an hour or less.
Hour in traffic.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So,
well, I get on a plane for all my flights. I mean, I get on a plane for all my races. Yeah.
Any racing up there in Portland that you go to?
No, I mean, well, we got Indy race out here.
Okay.
For 3 years. The contract was for 3 years in a row. This would have been the third year. Of course, it got canceled in September. It's usually Labor Day weekend. But they extended it for next year. So it'll be here next year. And there's, some very little, but some dirt track racing. Mm-hmm. We have every once in a while we'll get like one of the outlaw races comes out. Still a good hour and a half from my house. So not that
wow.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that like more of a Southern Oregon thing? Because I know there's a lot of dirt racing in Northern California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely more Southern Oregon. It's not up here as much, but again, so there's like Banks, Oregon, and they're all they're the awesome small tracks. They're the, they're like quarter mile. Is that possible? Not a half mile. So small dirt tracks. And yeah, they're just those regular, just small ones, but they're not NASCAR sanctioned. I don't believe. I don't know the details.
The bull ring at Charlotte and Atlanta and Texas and Vegas is a quarter mile. Oh. That's that little ring that's in the middle of what they call the football field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a quarter mile. That's the Legends track. And then there's a whole lot of feeder series that lead up to being a pro Legends guy. But a lot of guys have come through Charlotte, Atlanta, Texas, Vegas. I mean, the Bush Boys raced on the bull ring. There, so
shoot, Chase Elliott, for that matter.
Oh yeah, I saw him race a Bandolero, little go-kart with about 40 horsepower.
Yeah,
which is about 32 horsepower too much.
Well, cool. What we'll do, I'll get started here, and I'll let you know when I'm recording. The volume and the recording might sound a little weird as I'm doing the intro stuff, Kate, but you'll hear me kind of come out of that and intro Sherwin, then I'll intro you, and yeah, we'll just get talking. Just in general, if you find yourself down some grandpa story or something, just keep going, because we have no time limit, we have no commercials, nothing like that, and we don't edit at all either. So, it's just a ragtag show here. Usually, by the time that we're done saying salutations and goodbye and all that stuff at the end, I already have it uploaded to iTunes and stuff. So, okay. So yeah. Other than that, go ahead.
No, I'm easy. All
awesome.
Good.
Awesome. In that case, Sherwin, you ready to roll?
Yep.
Kate, you good? Here we go. We are recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 264. It is, what day is it? It's Tuesday, October 13th. Ooh, spooky, y'all. 2020. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm in the PTM Podcast Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. And as always, this podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie. Best part is, every cent this year, we're once again donating to sponsoring drivers. So join the PTM Posse today and be a part of the sport you love. Now, I failed this last week. Let's see if we can do it this week. This week's show brought to you by our official sponsors at that $5 and up per month level. Here we go. Aaron Bearden, Robert Kevlinger, Coleman McClam, Eric Kevner, Ryan Keefer, Patrick Clear, Jeff Brown, Brendan Carl, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brandon Carl, Rick Porter, Julie Bosley, Edgar Grid, Third Younger Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Crystal Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Navin, Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chinona, Rick Houston, Sarah Ann, Barry Evan, Roller, Brad Harrison, Matthew Bishop, Matthew Camper, Harry Bolzania, Les Miller, and Jumpy Bob. Woo! Just barely. Got it in. Ladies and gentlemen, we are excited about the show tonight. First, we'll bring on, from the PTM North Carolina studio, Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Skew! Race City, USA.
That's right. That's right. We are excited to get this one going. We got a lot to talk about, the week's happenings and whatnot and everything else. And to do that with us, our guest tonight, another first-timer on the PTM podcast. And y'all, her resume is like way overqualified to join a couple of Wahoos on a random Tuesday, but we're going to have some fun tonight. Welcome to the show, former actress, board member of Bitch Media, tech startup expert, speaker, singer, NASCAR aficionado, on Twitter at GOK8. Go Kate. It's Kate Ertmann. Kate, what's happening?
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
We are doing awesome. It is it's exciting to have you on. Appreciate you joining.
Thank you so much for asking me. I'm a big fan, and I'm pretty excited to I don't really know why you want me on here, but I'm into talking about cars, so right on.
Well, I'm in software, and I'm a NASCAR fan. You're in, have been in software and tech in your life, and are a NASCAR fan. And Sherwin is in high tech and is a NASCAR fan. It just, it just fits. So, perfect little deal. Kate, we start this show off the same way every time. What are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking gin.
Gin?
I love gin. Gin is good. I'm drinking gin with a little lime juice. That's it. Real simple.
Gin and lime. Love it. What kind of gin is your favorite?
Gosh, there's a local Portland, Oregon, which is where I'm from, Portland, Oregon brand called Aria Gin. It's a London dry sort of gin, and it's quite fabulous. So gin, lime juice. Good. That's
awesome. I am infinitely jealous of the distillery and beer scene in Portland. Closest we have is Asheville over here. It's about 4 hours from me, maybe a couple hours from Sherwin there. Maybe less. Sherwin, how far do you live from Asheville?
Yeah, it's not even 2 hours anymore.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
Probably right at it, but it's not a straight shot. You get to do the back roads if you want to go direct to Asheville.
Gotcha. The advantage of Asheville is that it is on the road in between Atlanta and Bristol Motor Speedway. So we definitely take advantage of that every year. We're going to have to figure out how that works in the future. But Sherwin, what you got today?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Asheville. I've got a Highland Brewing Gaelic Ale.
Oh, nice. How is that? as he tries it.
Nice. A little sweet. It's good.
Love it. Love it. You know, there's one. All right. Well, this is going to be a horrific story because I can't remember the name of the brewery, but it's one of the Atlanta local ones, and they've come out with an Oktoberfest that is. It's not as Oktoberfesty as others, and it is perfect. I'm gonna have to try to find the name of it. I think there's some downstairs in the fridge, so maybe at some point I take a run down there and all right, y'all talk. I'll give you a topic. But yeah, we'll. Let's see. I have the Jim Beam and Coke. Straightforward. Actually, it was my anniversary this past weekend. We went up in the mountains, and I got me some Jim Beam Black. So kicking it old school, our old haunt, if you will. Before
yet fancy,
before everybody else discovered Jim Beam Black, and they hiked the price up by like $10 a bottle.
Smart marketing.
Yeah, good for them. But yeah, it's tasty bev. So with that, Kate, let's start with you. You know what? Everybody has their NASCAR journey story. We've already talked about it. Me and Sherwin come from tech backgrounds, got into it in college, and just fell in love, and I think from what I've read, at least, a lot of the same reasons you did. But give us your journey. How did you get into NASCAR, and what keeps you coming back?
So I grew up in New York, had no idea, knew nothing about racing. Liked cars because my brothers liked cars, but that was about it. And made my way across the country, school, different things. But I got to Portland mid-'90s, and I would go to work. I worked at an agency. I'm kind of a tech marketing sort of agency. And I every Monday would come in, and my friend Kevin, who worked down the hallway from me, and every Monday I would say, "Hey, Kevin, how was your weekend?" He'd say, "Best race was on yesterday." And this went on for a few weeks. And finally, I was like, "You say the same thing every Monday morning, and I don't believe you, because how can it be the best race each week?" And he's like, "I bet you'd like racing because you like math." And folks, we can just blame Kevin Poor, for my love of racing, because I didn't believe him that it could be great every week. And he sat with me, and this is the key. He sat with me and said, "You like math? And basically this is math at 200 miles an hour." I was intrigued, sat with him, and he pointed out all the things, all the nerdy, lovely math, engineering things of how it's about the weather and what the material is on the track and what's the banking and fuel mileage. I'm obsessed with fuel mileage. And and then of course, then all the human components that go into that and all of that together. And then knowing it really was different every week because the tracks and the cars and weather, all that was different each week. So yeah, that's my nerdy story of what keeps me coming back, really, because it is different every week, but yet there's that thread of that one same thing, which is that team or that driver that's the same every week.
I think I'm going to change the name of this episode. Now, I rarely do this ahead of time, but I'm going to change the name of this episode to Math at 200 miles per hour.
Yeah,
with
do it, because that's what it is.
I love
See,
it.
That's what they call adaptability, which is what a race team needs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's
exactly it.
I think that very much aligns. You get into it, and you start seeing those things, especially from some sort of STEM background or something. It's like, wow, look at all the. I think there's very few sports, maybe baseball, that gives this many numbers to chew on.
My second favorite sport.
There you go. So being able to, like I said, chew on numbers like that it's a pastime, and different ways of combining those things and everything. I don't know what to say. I love it. What was your first race in person?
My first race was Dega. Very lucky, very blessed. Went to Dega. I think it was 96. It was when Gordon won. I was a huge Earnhardt fan right from the start. So of course I was all, giving the finger and being like, boo, when Gordo won, because that's what would happen at that time. But yeah, that was the first race. And I think my second race was actually at The Rock, because it was right after Earnhardt died. We flew across country when that happened and gathered with so many other people. So I was in the stands raising my 3 fingers up and respecting on the third lap. Yeah. So yeah, Dega was the first one, and then seeing The Rock. And of course, those two are so different tracks, though. Of course, The Rock, we're not racing.
You'll find us to be, I think, infinitely jealous in many aspects tonight. Having been to the Rock and seeing a touring national touring series race there, that's got to be something special. Do you have some old pictures from that or anything?
I was actually thinking about that a few weeks ago and wondering, I must look, because I think at that time was a time in my life when I was a little obsessed with Polaroid cameras, like the original, the OG Polaroid cameras, and the cameras, I want to say I had like black and white film, and it was like a big old camera. Anyway, I'm sure I took a ton of those photos that weekend, and I don't think, do Polaroids last that long? Do they last? Don't they get fade or
they like white out?
They will. I think there's a way you can store them. Yeah. I think there's a way you can store them so they don't. But yeah, if you don't, heat will fade them all the way to this pinkish red color.
Oh yeah.
So maybe it was sorry, but it was pre-digital. So because I'm old, because I'm pretty sure I'm older than both you guys. So yeah.
What was a race at Dega? Have you been back to Dega since then?
No, I haven't. But it was, 96, that was heyday, right in the beginning of all the heyday of stuff, and the Rainbow Warriors. And that was when you could go. So at that time, I used to smoke. I do not anymore. Haven't in a long time. And that was when it was Winston Cup. So you could go and you would trade in your one pack. Like you'd finish whatever cigarettes, Marlboro Lights, whatever. You trade in your pack of cigarettes with one cigarette left in it, and they would give you a carton of Winston. It was amazing.
Well, that sounds an awful lot like our experience, except for not so much the cigarettes, but the stuff that comes in a little can. Like, hey, what's your name? How old are you? 22. Like, how would you like a log back when they were 10, not the 5? We're like, what? Like, what is this free stuff?
Yeah. And then they mark your hand, because I remember they would mark our hand so you couldn't get more than one carton per race.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Ridiculous if you get a carton.
It's like getting checked out on the dock in Cozumel. Did you just buy the one carton for $15 back in summer of 1999?
Yeah. Yes, I did. And don't mind the giant jacket that I have on in the middle of summer in the Caribbean. Oh, man. So our first Dega race, Sherwin, was what, in 07? Was it 07?
No, that was 2013.
2013. Okay. I was thinking 13 in terms of years, not.
My first one was fall of 08.
Okay. So, yeah.
First Dega or first race?
First Dega.
Mm-hmm.
First Dega.
First race was, what was it, spring of 2004?
Yep, spring of 2004. Atlanta. Yep. We had been fans at that point for, I guess, a few months, maybe that first full year. And then it was like, all right, well, let's go to a race, actually. See what this whole going to a race thing's all about. And sure enough, it was everything in a bag of donuts.
Yeah. Yeah. And was that still the time when they weren't blocking off the seats yet? Because, gosh, I'm trying to remember now. It was like 2.66 mile track. It was one numbers. Let's talk numbers. It was like 130,000, 180,000, something ridiculous amount of people at the
closer to 180.
Yeah, I bet.
Because they still had the turn 2 stands that was bigger than like the entire front stretch at Martinsville.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Just in those turns, and we were on the back stretch, and still, I say those were some of the best seats we've ever had. With right up against the track, you run up to the fence and watch cars go by right underneath you, all the way up until they had a big wreck right in front of you, and then they stopped letting you do that. But
yeah, that was at Atlanta. We didn't even realize what you could do, but shouldn't do. So like they start the race, and we're down near turn 3, the entrance to turn 3, and we see the entire crowd just scatterbomb down the stairs and climb the fence. And I mean, like, into the curvature area. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh. And then, I mean, it's like when all the cars go by, the security guards are like, okay, guys, go back to your seats. No big deal. And we're like, oh, we're doing that next time. So next restart, I mean, I'm in the curved section. My hat blows off like 60 yards. And this is when I thought NASCAR might be the greatest sport ever in terms of interaction with a fellow fan. was when a guy who had been walking down the gangway between the stands and catch fence saw my hat blow off. This is a Georgia Tech hat I'd had for 7 years. So I was like committed to this hat. Like it was a white hat that was actually gray now. Like I was pretty committed. Like had medical tape keeping the buckle together.
Oh, my.
And this guy just walks right up to me and he goes, "I'm pretty sure this is yours." And I'm like, "Oh,
I love you. I love these people. This is my favorite sport."
You help a fellow NASCAR person out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for Dega, for me, it was the 2.66 mile track, and we were right in turn 4. So they were way up to speed, of course, by then. And on that first lap, and the folks I was with, again, the aforementioned Kevin Poore and his friends that lived there in the area, that lived in Alabama, and they all told me, lean up against like the metal bar. I don't remember how high up we were, but we were like midway up or something, and just feel the of these 43 cars going by. And my head almost exploded just on that first lap of the amazement, because already I was overwhelmed by the day we had walking through, with all the fans there. I mean, again, 180,000 people. I'd never been around that many people in my life. Don't know if I ever want to again these days, but
no kidding.
It was pretty great.
I think there was like one sensation we went to the track to experience, and that was speed. And then the smell, the taste, the vibration. We didn't realize how loud it was going to be. We're like stuffing cigarette butts in our ears. Luckily all of us had plenty to drink, so we all took a nap like between lap 20 and 30. Like, how do you sleep during that?
Yes, exactly.
But we did.
I'd like to know how, because I've gone to races with friends and looked over at them and they are asleep. I think
they call it passed out. I think that's what
that would be the.
It's a little bit different condition than being tired.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I shouldn't say infamously, as if that many people are paying attention to what we have to say, but I was pretty steadfast in boycotting Dega for probably about 4 or 5 years there, until we finally went and did the infield. Now we went that first time. Sherwin, me and you in 2013. I think it was right after that I kind of boycotted till whenever it was 2018 when we went back and stayed in the infield. And that is a NASCAR experience. I think we even talked about it last week, but that is an experience that is next to none. It's one of the greatest sporting experiences over the course of a weekend that you can have. And we said it last week, like I said, sitting in the grass there on your own chair, with your cooler, and watching the cars go by and hanging out with your friends and everything else. I mean, it's such a different experience than even going to other tracks. So, Dega's.
Yeah. I really liked. I got to go to Martinsville for the first time a couple years ago and loved it. And it's also the first time I went to a race by myself, which is just. Oh wow. I'm a crazy person.
Adventurous.
To go to a race by myself. Oh, help me. But I did convince then husband and friends to go with me the next year.
Nice.
And that was just right. Not just the race itself, and the track was really special in a way, but it was also just that feeling of local track. And you could tell the race car drivers enjoy racing at the track and being at that track because it is so small, but it had that feeling of Dega to me, obviously not the size, but it had that feeling of just true race fans, and even just stupid stuff like how you park. It wasn't all glossed up and super fancy parking lots and new. Like we've gone to what is it, the one in the Fontana racetrack. And that one's it's newer and it's shiny and it's very West Coast and it's great. But, Phoenix is really nice and Vegas is friggin' awesome. But that Martinsville one, I will go there as much as I can. That's really fun.
Yeah. And Sherwin, you're not too far from there now.
No, excuse me. No, I'm only, 80 miles maybe at the most.
Wow.
Yeah.
On a bad day.
So, Kate, on our chat wall, Roger, who lives in upstate New York, asked you, where in New York are you from?
I'm from Long Island.
Okay.
I'm a Long Island girl.
Long Island. There you go.
Yeah. If I drink a little more of this, I'll start talking a little more like that. My hands start going. But I speak properly now. I don't have that.
There you go.
Accent.
We'll get a couple more gins in you and see where it goes from there. So Kate, you gained a lot of traction with your articles on things that me and Sherwin talk about all the time on this show, and it's the longevity of the sport and what is bringing in new fans and how we can how we can attract folks that are coming in. One thing I wrote on here was like, if you wanted to attract new fans in say 1964. What's going on? Well, everybody's into muscle cars. There's 5 channels on TV. One of them has a race on. I mean, it's served up on a silver platter there. Today, if you think about, what are the cars that are popular? Well, Tesla. What are the what kind of consumption of media is there? Well, there's thousands of competing entertainment sources that we have out there. And the thing that we talk about, probably to the chagrin of our audience who listens every week or so, is a diversity of the sport, and something that you've wrote quite a bit about, and what how much it matters to the longevities. Not just the sake of not diversity for the sake of diversity, and you've written about that. So I wanted to dive into that a little bit. And what do you think the future of the sport looks like, and how can NASCAR really reach that younger audience right now?
Well, I mean, it's so much about the generations, right? So, and that's with everything. And when you think about who's going to have the money coming up, and who and how much you've mentioned it, just our attention is spread in so many different directions, and the generations coming up are large generations. I'm Gen X, and we're pretty darn small and squished in the middle between the baby boomers and then the freaking huge millennials. It's a humongous amount of people in that generation. And then you have, of course, Gen Z behind them, all these digital natives, and assuming that you can run any business, because the business that I do day to day, and that, it's my job, is working now with different companies about creating and making a sustaining 21st century company or industry. Well, same goes, it's a business, NASCAR is. So they need to make it into the 21st century, and they're doing it bit by bit. And as far as diversity, and really it's about representation, and people, you want to be around, unless you have some big pull, like the nerdy math reason, which is why I'm there. I still, when I'm watching on TV and it goes to commercial, I just sit there, and last week watching, I pretty much like everybody who are announcers on the broadcast, but I'm like, oh, look at all the white guys. Mm-hmm. Cool. And then, as the main, I'm not talking about the pit reporters, but the main folks. And then you cut to commercial, and it'll have, the top 5 on the top of the screen. You're like, oh, look, it's all white guys. I don't identify with this at all. And, it's just, representation is attractive, and it's that that thing that sometimes people don't call out, but you're also like, oh, I can relate to that person, and I want to see how they're doing, and I'm interested to see how they're doing, because maybe that could be me someday. So it's that.
That is, I was sitting here furiously typing a few of the things that you were saying, because some of these things stuck out with me. Number one, it's obvious you're very fluent in this stuff. I had never heard Gen Z being called digital natives, but that is such a perfect, succinct description that it's something that I'm going to have to put in my lexicon.
You can Google it. There's other. I definitely did not make up this term.
Well, then there's eye-opening stuff, and I was personally eye-opened regarding your one of the things that you had written about the focus on drivers, where me and Sherwin, we've again, we keep touting the diversity side of things, and so we've brought on Jesse Awuji, we've brought on Leilani Munter, and other folks, and like you said, it was a focus on drivers. We've still got crew, officials, execs, etc. That
I've
for me, I was
been
like,
a crew chief. It's only been white male crew chiefs, right? At least at the top level.
Yeah.
That's
as far
weird.
as I know.
That's weird to no one else.
Yeah. So
I guess what I would add to this, and this is not to take a contrarian point of view, but what I would say is the pipeline for talent to do that job right now doesn't have the diversity in it that perhaps it could use.
Mhm.
And I think what the catalyst for that is, after reading everything you sent me today, is NASCAR had an opportunity when they did sort of an executive move out and promoted some people, brought somebody in, blah, blah, blah. And absolutely no offense to Lisa France Kennedy, because she's
Oh,
always
absolutely.
going to have to fight the nepotism thing.
I mean, yeah.
But they had an opportunity to either or both bring in a black man, a white woman, or a black woman to be a part of that discussion. Because at the executive level, you don't really have to know racing. You just have to know business.
Yeah, for sure.
And that would send a great signal to anybody that's like, okay, I want to get into STEM. It doesn't matter what background you're from. Maybe you're such a good student, it really doesn't matter from what deficit that you've risen from to get into tech school. I want to do something tech. What do I want to do? Yeah. Well, if you're in the Southeast, there's 3 or 4 different really cool, like NASCAR certificate mechanical engineering programs.
Mm-hmm.
And, all of a sudden, there are some opportunities there, but you have to be aware of them, and you have to look at that person and go, you know what, one day I want to be the CEO of NASCAR. If you're a black girl from a rural town, like where I work, Statesville, North Carolina, let's say. And Winston-Salem State has, from what I understand, the best MBA racing-related business degree, postgraduate business degree in the state.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So, it's just I actually looked at applying there when I lived here 10 years ago. I was like, how do I turn loving racing, knowing engineering into some sort of business opportunity? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't balance it. I couldn't figure it out then. I might look into it again.
Yeah.
Well, it's all that. It's the opportunity. People will say, and I agree that money is power, but money also is opportunity. And everything we're talking about, others have talked about, of course, that it isn't. It's that extra effort. I think it's that extra effort and getting outside the circle of people, the circle of people that you. That when folks hire other folks, they go into their network. I mean, it's the real world LinkedIn, right? And you just kind of, because you want to work with people that and that you like, or at least that your friend that you like, or your colleague that your peer that you like says and gives some sort of approval. So if it just keeps reverberating back and forth of a bunch of white guys talking to other white guys about these white guys, you need to kind of make the effort to, not just when you're looking for somebody, but make the effort to constantly and consistently over the course of a long time to show that the intention's there, and it isn't just one-off when you think of it and when you have time to spend the money or the time to actually make that effort.
Other thing
it's a slow turn because it's a systemic change. So
yeah, the other thing you said, which this all ties into, is representation is attractive. And that's something, you chew on those 3 words for a minute and the light bulb goes off about, if I see somebody that looks like me and talks like me and is shares my culture, then I'm going to be attracted to what they have to say and what they're doing. Now it's a bunch of Southern white guys and I'm a Southern white guy. And so that's somewhat natural in that case. But if we get that diversity aspect, this is what we're, rounding it back to the beginning. What are the young folks looking for right now? That attractiveness to their representation. So yeah, I love that.
And when my best example of the truth in that, and it's not, so I'm not just throwing words out or phrases out that other people say, when I saw it, because it's representation, you don't realize, just from my own experience with it, don't realize how deep it matters until all of a sudden you see it happen. So, and this is just the goofiest thing. I went to the movie theater a couple of years ago to see the Ghostbusters. That was all female based. Mm-hmm. It was all, all the female and all the leads. And I was sitting there with my husband, and it was about, 30 minutes maybe into the film. And I realized that no one was talking about them being females. They just were these scientists, and they had all their flaws like the characters do in the original Ghostbusters. And oh my gosh, when I will admit, I started crying because I was like, oh, this feeling that I have that's so cool and I could be them. And hello, I'm closer to 50 than 40. I'm not going to be a Ghostbuster no matter what. Well, I mean, maybe I am. You don't know. But that could be a different story. That could be a different episode. The thing was, I just realized what my husband and all his friends and all the guys I grew up with, what they had felt when they were watching it and pretending to be Ghostbusters at Halloween. I realized this was a new feeling I had never had. And so I've talked about representation for a long time, but like I had that moment. And of course, like when Hidden Figures came out and all those other movies where all of a sudden I just saw there was this possibility. It was like this door, how stupid that sounds, but this door, this window, whatever, that opened up and I was like, I didn't even know that was freaking there behind the wall. I didn't know that was possible. Yeah. It might intellectually it did, but I didn't really feel it was possible emotionally, I guess.
That NASA movie was pretty damn cool. That was really eye-opening.
What's the test called? I know it has Wallace in it because that's my last name. I'm looking it up. Bechdel. That's it. Bechdel-Wallace test.
Bechdel test.
Yeah, about women in movies. So, folks, go look that one up. But it's interesting to read about that. You know, one thing very, very hot off the press in terms of the last few weeks, the developments with Michael Jordan coming in, and that's something we talked about extensively as we were. As this news was breaking and everything, that this is the right kind of move to bring in a new audience, not just the folks who are, legacy Michael Jordan fans, but even the folks who, started paying attention to Michael Jordan well after he even played baseball.
Just again that like, I think what he does is cool and what he invests in is cool, or whatever they might think about him, it's just human nature. We're like attracted and interested in those things that that remind us of like some good time in our life. And for all the folks that loved watching him play or just be himself, or even just with the the documentary, people, I think he even has gotten more awareness around him and what he does as a businessman. So I think in so many ways, it's going to be so good. Though I keep having these images in my head of like Hamlin saying to him, can you write another check? Like, we just need a little bit more. Yeah, I know it seems like a lot for a motor or for, they did wreck the body of that car at the last track. And we just need to buy, we need like another $500,000 for this thing or that thing. I'm just hoping that Jordan knows truly how deep he's in for this money for his bank account. I'm sure he does.
Well, folks.
Well, he's been a race fan for his whole life, so I suspect, we haven't seen the ESPN 3030 on Jordan blowing all his money.
Right.
Yeah. And Republicans buy sneakers too. Remember that? That's pretty famous. Like, I don't need to pick sides. Everybody likes nice basketball shoes.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, let's talk about some racing. Here it is with the report card. We're going to tear it down into first period at the Roval and Sherwin. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but if I can find it, there it is. Oh, yes, the old foghorn. Chase Elliott with the win. Happened to be my pick. I've been saving him all playoffs to the Roval. And, Chase Elliott comes out with the win. Sherwin, is it too soon? I mean, I feel like, the ink is so wet on this, but is it too soon to say that he's the best road course racer that's ever lived?
Lived is a very huge superlative.
In NASCAR, specifically. I guess I got to throw some qualifiers in there, but...
He did something that only Jeff Gordon has ever done, which is win 4 of them in a row.
And this early in the career, I mean, he has he's batting .420, by the way, in wins at road courses. 42% of the time that he has driven a road course, he has won the race. This is like Casey Kane in the trucks kind of numbers.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think, Kate?
He's still a baby. Is he even 25 yet? He's got so much career ahead of him.
I think he's 25 in November, right around Thanksgiving.
There you go. Yeah, well, he, obviously he's doing real well on those tracks, and I'm very curious to see how he's going to do next year at the new roads courses that we're going to be doing.
Yeah, as we're lining up 6 races next year on road, I mean, it seems like it's I don't know, Chase Elliott's the Chase Elliott show can be can go on the road. Haha! Somebody trademarked that one. That's good.
Who else is even close to him? At least in current Cup drivers, who else is considered good road course?
Truex.
Truex is good. I mean, Kyle Busch has been good, but he's not good now.
Truex's average finish is, since he's been in a Toyota, has been pretty astounding.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
I mean, Dinger. I don't know if that ship has sailed in the Cup Series in terms of.
I heard some stuff about old Ding.
Yeah,
I think 6 road courses for the Cup means he might get some partial ride stuff.
He'll be like Boris. Do we remember Boris?
Except for he'll probably be in a good car.
Yeah. Boris.
Oh, you talking about Boris Said?
Yeah.
And the Said heads and the big hair. I love that.
Okay.
You know, it does feel like at least the road course ringer era is has been, gone for quite a while. I guess both as a part of just the way things are structured and the fact that, hey, these guys have really learned how to race these cars on the road courses and will continue to excel at that, especially going, like we just said, in next year. So
yeah.
Are guys used to get out of their cars that were actually competing for championships.
Right. I remember that. Like, Boris Said's driving the whatever it is, 48 car. I mean, he didn't drive the 48 car in any race, but it was that significant, and we didn't really bat an eye back then. We'd probably freak out right now. Like, something's wrong with X person if they can't race.
Yeah, that's true. That is really true.
How about this one? We had, it was misty, rainy, kind of in stage 1 there, kind of made things interesting. But I mean, that Xfinity race was, it was in a damn hurricane.
That was so. I mean, the waves of water behind them at that race. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was with all the standing water. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Somebody posted a video and called it Lake Turn 1.
Lake Turn 1.
And it was like, you couldn't even see the cars. Like maybe that little pink of that red light that's in that back windshield. Yeah. Like what? No wonder they all spun out. Like what?
And you have those little windshield wipers that are just so. And that, I mean, I get it with the sprinkles and when the racing. When there's sprinkles or just a very light rain, and that's, the rain tires are good for that, and that was enjoyable. But when it got so crazy, and then the poor little windshield wipers were like looking like they were going to break at any moment. And
then a lot of them did
out too.
Yeah.
A lot of them did break.
So I'm not sure if I can make a judgment based on that. It's like, hey, we're going to try racing in the rain, and they do it, like I said, in a hurricane. It's like, well, that might not be the best gauge for what racing in the rain is like. I mean, we've had it maybe a couple times in Xfinity Series and stuff, and really the first time, I think it was the first time ever that the Cup race, had any sort of precipitation whatsoever, and they're like, hey, we're doing this. So, I mean, being such homers as Chase Elliott fans and in the Atlanta area and all that, it's hard to say, oh, that was stupid, because it's like, oh, well, our guy won. That's we're good. But if stage 1 had happened the whole race, I'm not sure that the fans who are there and the fans on TV get what they want out of a Roval race. So I'm not there yet. Sherwin, what do you think?
I thought Sunday was fine. I thought it was a very good proof of concept that you can start on a wet surface and finish on not a dry surface, but pretty close. Everybody was running slicks at the end.
Yeah.
I thought that was very similar to the race we saw at Road America a few years ago when Brennan Gaughan actually beat Chase because he understood how to keep the tires wet and cool them off, and Chase didn't. I thought what we did on Saturday was maybe a data point we should throw out.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously had a lot of constraints on their hands. They had to run that race that night, and if there was any way to possibly do it, they were going to do it all the way up to. There were parts of the track where you not just couldn't see because of the water. You couldn't see because there wasn't any lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the middle.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Sherwin.
No, yeah, I was gonna say once you take turn one and come under the bridge to go into turn two, like there was no light there. Like it was just dark.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not. And we've got, like we keep saying, 6 races next year. And I mean, shoot, it's NASCAR, so it's bound to rain. So I imagine we're going to see it again, and we'll see then what that looks like. In the meantime, playoffs, y'all. Byron
Playoffs?
Blaney, yeah, Byron Blaney, Dylan, and Kyle Busch officially out. Reigning champion will not be racing for the Cup this year. And currently in, Harvick, Hamlin, Brad, Chase, Joey, Truex, Bowman, and Kurt are in, with Kansas, Texas, and Martinsville coming up. Sherwin, I don't know, who are you thinking has the advantage here besides Harvick and Hamlin? I can't imagine anybody who's been paying attention this year would not put them up there. I know we talked with Jeff Striegel a few weeks ago about Harvick, Hamlin, or the field, and it was a serious question with a serious debate.
Yeah. I would say put the Fords up front and throw in Denny Hamlin at the 2 1/2 miles. That's just an opinion, but it's based on performance. Can somebody else win? Yeah. Actually, I think it would be a lot more fun if somebody who's already exited the playoffs actually won one of these races, to force 2 guys to have to get in on points.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would be cool.
Yeah. Kate, what do you think about this playoff kind of shakeup here going into the round of 8?
So, I mean, agreeing with everything you're saying, absolutely. And, I think it might be more to, couldn't even tell you exactly why, but I think my gut feels it's more of a Harvick advantage coming up than a Hamlin. But I would love, if I say what I would love to see, I would love to see someone who's not, in contention win. Like, I would love to see that Jimmy kid.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be neat if he won a race? I mean, they made this whole flippin', playoff system because he was winning so much. Let's be real, right? So wouldn't it be great if he just won now in his last full year in NASCAR?
Yeah.
I mean,
the finger.
Right? I know. And
yes, Goose, I know the finger.
Yeah. Well, I have friends who've been watching for the past couple years pretty steadily, and they've never seen Jimmy win. They don't understand this supposed 7-time champion. I'm like, oh, you got to see him win. You got to feel for the poor kid.
Not just win, but win comfortably and be very, non-dramatic about it either. Just, the Jimmy win. Great job, guys. Awesome.
Exactly. Congratulating his team, being the good human that he is and he's proven to be. And that'd be great for him. I know he can do it.
I have trouble.
Well, and for the record books, that would move him out of a tie with Cale and into a tie with Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip.
Sir.
Well, I hadn't realized that. Well, then, even more.
I have trouble reading through this list and having some good reason why any one of the people in here can't make it to the next round. I mean, Harvick and Hamlin are obvious. I almost feel like Brad is not obvious, but he doesn't really. I don't have to sit here and give you stats on why Brad can and should make it. Chase, the momentum is. I mean, I just got goosebumps saying his name. Going in, Joey. Joey will absolutely piss off the entire field and come away with a championship, and he's got the trophy, and you don't. You know what I mean? Like, Truex. I mean, we've seen him win so much; it's unbelievable. And his runs have been fantastic this year. He's just Mr. Consistency lately. Bowman, kind of surprised folks maybe a little bit with the win there, but he's been up there. And then Kurt, Sherwin, you say it every other podcast, best wheelman in NASCAR. So we've got us it's a hell of a lineup to go in. It would be very difficult for me to say one way or the other. I mean, if we're looking at the courses that we have coming up with Kansas and Texas. Fairly similar size and everything. Martinsville is a place Joey can, do something at, for example. But why not Truex at Kansas and Texas? Why not Brad at Kansas, Texas, or Martinsville? Why not Chase at Texas? Why not Kurt anywhere? I mean, it's a free for all.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And that's that.
I think the only not surprise, I would think the one driver in that whole list right now that folks might be, I don't know if surprised, right, but like Martinsville, if Bowman won at Martinsville, that would be unexpected, I would say. But that'd be also really great because everybody that's up right now for the playoffs is absolutely qualified, and they're not a big surprise being in there, I don't think.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I would be surprised, but not shocked, I guess. But
right.
he definitely has, Kansas, Texas. You finish a couple top fives there, and then roll the dice at Martinsville. Who knows? So yeah. Some silly season stuff this past week. Sherwin, we heard that Mr. Boyer is hanging up the steering wheel and going into the booth.
The booth.
I think you had texted me that as soon as it was announced, and I was like, not surprised, but he's another one of those folks where you have to kind of take a step back and, all right, well, now I have to imagine NASCAR without Boyer in it. And what does that look like? Sherwin, touchdown? What was that?
Albie's just hit a home run.
Oh, sweet.
Sorry.
Oh, man.
Mix it up.
Yeah. I'm almost like not.
No, I'm with you. I mean, Boyer in the booth is going to be fantastic. The thing I was surprised about was that he's going direct to Fox Cup, which makes you wonder who's rolling.
That's a good question.
Oh.
Is Jeff rolling out? Are they going to go with a 4-man team like NBC uses, or
who's?
They need Mike Joy to be the captain, the quarterback.
Why?
And I still like Mike Joy. Because I don't know which quarterback you'd bring in unless you bring back some of the guys that we liked, over the last 15 years, like Alan Bestwick.
Mm-hmm.
I guess as a host, Alan Bestwick for me, but
yeah.
Me too.
So let's see. It's almost certain, it feels like, that Chase Briscoe takes that seat. Is there anybody who disagrees with that sentiment at this point?
No, that makes sense. That makes good sense.
Yeah, with Briscoe doing what he's doing, and I mean, how much? I guess the big thing is, if it's not Briscoe, then what do you have to do in the Xfinity Series to get a Cup ride? In this case, like, well, how about I get 6 wins and vie for the championship and blah blah blah. And, okay, what? And there's somebody retiring in my camp.
Right.
Seems pretty natural there, which kind of leaves that spot in question over there at Hendrick with Kyle Larson. Been talked about so much, and we know he's been in at least on the phone with folks. And then, but Eric Jones also throwing the name in the hat there too. I don't know. What do you think, Kate, in terms of who they're looking at
for Hendrick?
Yeah.
Gosh. I mean, everything you said, absolutely. It does sound like it's very possible that Kyle Larson could go over there. That's a whole show in and of itself, I'm sure. Gosh, I'm trying to think who else. Eric Jones would be lovely, but I don't know if that's the right match. Now, DiBenedetto is all nice and secure over with Wood, staying with Wood, which I think still think is a really great fit for that team is a really great fit together. Well, gosh, who else is there that might be coming up? Do we know where's Chastain going? He's going permanent at
Chip Ganassi, full time.
Ganassi, okay. And Briscoe wants to stay. I mean, Briscoe does not want to. There's no reason that he would want to stay in Xfinity, right? I mean, he's going to win it, and he wants to move up this next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're already shaping the chair for him over at SHR into that car.
Yeah, I can't imagine who else would go. That isn't. What about where's Cindric is going?
It's already booked. He's coming up to the 21 car in 2022.
Yeah, so he's taking DiBenedetto's seat after 2021. That was the other thing. So DiBenedetto signs that 1-year extension at Wood Brothers But they pretty much said, hey, you can stay on with us another year, but then you're looking for a job because Austin Cindric's filling this seat, and we're not keeping any of that secret. That's like in the press release.
That makes sense. Well, you know what? I'm just going to throw out one of my favorite drivers, and I just want him in a really hot car so he can win a bunch. Timmy Hill.
Timmy Hill.
Timmy Hill.
He's NASCAR's underdog right now for sure.
He is. No, I think he's a good human and I do think he's a good driver. And, it's that whole, just got to have the good, good motor, a good car underneath him. He'll surprise people. So I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for Timmy Hill.
I had a history teacher who, at the on the front page of every test that we took, it said luck. I don't care if it's good or bad luck. That just depends on how you prepared. But it just said luck at the top. So he wouldn't say good luck on the test. He wouldn't say bad luck. So I feel like Kyle Larson at Hendrick brings attention, and the reason I'm drawing this analogy is. Good attention, bad attention. There's a lot that is at stake there, and so it could be good, it could be bad, whatever it is. But it will bring attention, and probably more so than an Eric Jones. So, what is Hendrick's tolerance for attention right now? In that, because that's going to be the biggest thing. First race, second race, etc. Going in, and especially leading up to Daytona 500. I mean that will be the story if that is the story. Not nearly as much as what's that Jones boy going to do?
Right. That's true. And and the respect that Mr. Hendrick commands and deserves, and just the way, again, the hierarchical structure that exists that with so many businesses that have been around for almost 100 years, I think it'll be really interesting. That's the one thing that's holding me back of saying, it's probably going to be Larson, because I don't know. I don't know if Mr. Hendrick would or is, and who knows? Stuff could all be signed already, and we have no idea out here in fanland. But I wonder if Mr. Hendrick would be if he had him on a really short leash, I guess would be the thing, because he's got to have the sponsors stick with him, and Interesting business side of it all.
Yeah. So on to some fun stuff. Jimmy, Brad, Harvick, Byron, and Almirola will be appearing on Jeopardy soon as guest question givers, not like as guests who are ringing in or whatever. But they'll be reading off the questions in a NASCAR in Vegas category, and so over under on the number of correct guesses. That the contestants will have in that. Now, I think the last time they had some NASCAR stuff, it was about the Busch brothers, and it was about what's their Kyle and Kurt are NASCAR drivers with this beer last name, and somebody rang in and said Coors. It's like, oh yeah, Kurt Coors, Kyle Coors. I like it. So Sherwin over under on this one. We'll even put our picks in here and see how we guess, and we'll even blow the horn if we get it right.
I mean, on who's going to do the worst or who's going to do the best?
I don't know. How many of the 5 questions that the contestants will actually answer correctly?
Oh, okay. And over under is, or you want me to set it?
Well, you know what? Why don't you set it? If and I'll take whatever side that Kate doesn't take, and one of us will be correct.
I'm going to set it at 1.5.
1.5. Awesome. Kate, are you over or under 1.5?
I am under. I'm just going to stick with 1, and that's, I'm sticking with 1.
I'll take the over on that one. We will report back with the results on that. Sherwin, I love the hook in there.
Yeah, gotta have the hook.
Gotta have the hook. Well, you know what? Let's give you Sherwin. Let's give you 2 at least. So that, because at 1.5 you cannot win. So, well, how about we give you 2, and Kate went with 1. I'll go with the over on that, and I don't like my position in this.
It might be 0.
So
it could be. Actually, that's a possibility. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you can miss the question, what beer is the Busch brothers' name? Or does it identify with?
Oh man! So I wanted to talk about this. I absolutely love this, and it reminded me of something. When I as a youth, I rode my bike everywhere, and I think this is how you. This is why people are race fans, in my opinion. Is it wasn't until I was a late teenager that I ever got on a bicycle that had a speedometer on it. And what's the first thing that you're going to do if you end up on a vehicle with a speedometer on it? You're absolutely going to try to top it out. That's what you do, right? We had a jet ski at the lake, Sherwin, that we used to that we go to. They used to have two jet skis down there. Well, they had one. It didn't have no speedometer on it, so you just kind of farted around, had fun, and whatnot. They got a new one. It had a speedometer, and this thing went. This was like the old one was the one where you could like turn and do tricks and stuff. This was the one that just got you to A to B, from A to B fast as you can, and and that thing. You know, legend has it that thing could get up to 70. Now, I think I got it to like 68, 69. Like, I never crested 70 myself. Now, I'm a hefty guy, too, so that probably had something to do with it. But evidently, on still water, you could hit 70 in that thing. So my point in all of this is that a fellow by the name of John Ornay this week set a new 100-mile speed record in 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 46 seconds on a bike at MIS. He was drafting behind his dad, who was driving a minivan, and an average speed of nearly 43 miles per hour on a bicycle. Now, I believe when I was on that one that had the speedometer, I got on a hill and pedaled as fast as I could and got it up to something like 25 and felt like death was imminent. This was the worst thing I could possibly be thinking about. And this is 43 miles an hour for 2.5 hours on a bicycle. I was like, that's racing right there. That's if you need to know, that's what racing's all about.
That's pretty much it. I bet his heartbeat profile was probably very similar to a Cup race car driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my experience was not so much with the Sea-Doos or the jet skis or whatever, but with a ice sled or a snowmobile.
Oh, do you have a snowmobile with a speedometer?
Yeah, so one of the jobs I did in the old ranch days in the winter was I had to like grind the snow, like the tubing hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I had to put some friction in it because people would go down there and hit the berm and they'd like fly like 15 feet in the air. We had a bunch of broken arms. It's all good. But I had a snowmobile at the house so that I could get over there as soon as I got called on the radio. And we had a nice long stretch of dirt back road.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, yeah, I think this thing does about 75. And I'm like, 75 sounds awful fast. With only having a helmet and cold weather clothes on.
Yeah.
And anyway, skip forward. I walked into work the next day and they're like, how's the old sled doing? I go, oh, it does 90, as it turns out. And I was like, I can't believe I did that.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, man. And that's it. That's the race. So here's the thing. If that thing didn't have a speedometer, I don't know. You might have like gassed it up a couple times just to see what the old kitty could do, but not like there wasn't a bar to set. You know what I mean? Like they
didn't give me. Yeah, if you don't have a measuring stick, you're probably not going to screw up as much.
Right? I love it. Oh man. Kate, any stories of pushing the speedometer to the limit?
No, I mean, here's the sad thing. I think because of the nerd-tasticness of how I look at everything, and I'm always very curious and want to break it down and understand how it works. Like I would love to, I would want to figure out how a big machine goes so fast and try to figure out how to make it go faster. But I myself, I do not like to go fast. No, I've gone skiing once and it was horrific because you were going so fast and I would just pitch myself and just wanted to make it down the hill. I myself do not like to go fast, but I like to figure out how to make others go faster that want to go faster.
In a very much younger life than mine, I lived in Wisconsin for a few years, and my dad worked at a ski resort, as a matter of fact, and they had some ski hills, and I never really learned how to ski because there were people like on the big slopes who would like do the whole back and forth thing, and they were talking with each other as they were going down. Hey, how are you? How's the kids? How's it? I mean, they didn't say it in that accent. It was very much, the Wisconsin equivalent of whatever that is. Right. How's your mama and them? But here comes Ricky screaming at as fast as it can go, just straight down the hill, because I didn't know how to do the left and right thing. And if you don't know that part, you will absolutely on just a 2-degree grade go, I don't know, fast, I guess is a word.
Straight up Clark Griswold, the lubricant.
Yeah, burning holes behind me. Well, with that, it is time to gas it up, and let's talk about this coming weekend. There it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kansas. Kate, what are you looking forward to at Kansas?
This is horrible. Kansas, I've been a NASCAR fan now for 25 years. I couldn't tell you a dang thing about Kansas track. Kansas does. I mean, Texas kind of sort of sticks in my head, and the Chicago track never stuck in my head, but Kansas is just, maybe I have to go to it in person, because tell me a characteristic of it that I should be aware of. I can't think of one.
Medium banked compared to other intermediates. It's got a tri-oval like Kentucky and Vegas. And that was where Carl did the video game Send It move on Jimmy Johnson.
Right. Yes. Now, some sparks of memory there. And you mentioning Vegas does perk my interest in maybe a little bit more, that there might be something interesting, because Vegas has become one of my more favorite tracks to watch. So, okay.
Have you been there?
I have gone to Vegas. Yeah. Vegas one I will say that is the best fan experience.
Oh, cool.
Just is beautiful what they have in the infield there.
Yeah, we went, had to be like 09 or something, Sherwin. I don't know. I'm just making up
Spring
numbers.
09.
Pretty sure it was 09. We went out there, and my parents were living in Vegas at the time, so we had a free place to stay. Sherwin was living down in Valdosta at that time, I believe, and took a plane from Jacksonville. Me and my wife went out there. We had a blast. Vegas, just being Vegas and getting out there and experiencing Vegas while on one night, and then going to the track the next day. I mean, it was that's just the whole package is there for you to have fun as a NASCAR fan. So yeah, we had a blast. Me and Sherwin had not seen each other maybe for 6 or 8 months, maybe even longer. So catching up and everything. Yeah, it was great. There's all kinds of stories for that, but we're already into our little bit overtime here. So with that, let's do some picks for Kansas then. Kate, why don't you lead us off?
All right, I know it's going to be boring. I'm so sorry, but I want to win. I want to win this little contest here. So I'm going to check in next week and find out if I win. I'm meant brain-wise, I kind of want to, of course, lean towards Hamlin, but no, I think it's going to be Harvick.
Harvick, there it is. When you said, I hate to be boring, I typed the word Harvick and said, we'll see if I have to delete that or not. But no, it's all good. Sherwin, last week, I picked Chase. And again, that might be cheating. Call it what you want. But you know what? I wanted to win, finally won. So, Chase, you picked Blaney, finished top 5, finished 5th. And Jackson picked Truex, who finished 7th. So, a pretty stellar overall showing by the PTM posse there. So, Sherwin, with that, you are our next pick. Who you got?
Alex Bowman.
Bowman. All right. Just punching that ticket early. I love it.
He's got all that confidence after switching cars and getting over all that horse hockey with Utter and the anxiety stuff. I think he's going to come in pretty charged up.
I like it. Sherwin, am I allowed to pull a Sherwin right now?
Yes.
And go back to back with Chase?
How could I deny you that opportunity when I picked Brad 3 weeks in a row? To no avail. No foghorn for me.
Yeah, no foghorn in the whole thing. It's that momentum. And not just like, this isn't like a regular season momentum. Hey, he did really well. This is that race last week mattered to win, and this week matters a ton to win. And so, yeah, punching that ticket to the final round. I see Chase doing it, and you know what? If I've got to pick the next four to come out. Harvick, Hamlin are in there, but I think Chase is in there. Just the way he's been running everything. So I'm happy about that. Get to take that pick. I'm not going to just start picking Chase, for the next four races, but I'm happy to do it this race. With that, I think it's time to close this thing out. Kate, why don't you tell the folks where they can find you? What's coming up next for you?
Oh gosh. I'm just kind of continuing to do my thing. So you can always find me on Twitter, Go Kate, GOK numeral 8. That's me. Putmyname.com, kateertmann.com. You can see all the different stuff that I do outside of the anything having to do with NASCAR or DEI work. I do other things too. Math nerdery extraordinaire. But Twitter. Find me on Twitter.
I sometimes feel like with some of our guests that we need to start a second podcast. It's like the PETM non-NASCAR podcast so that we can just nerd out and talk about whatever we want to talk about in that case. And I think this is one of those cases where it's like, all right, Kate, we've got a lot to talk about, and we'll